The canyon grew darker as Lena and the cowboy moved forward, the blue crystal lights trembling on the walls as if they too felt fear. The air smelled of smoke and burnt metal. Lena's heart pressed painfully against her ribs. She had never heard her tribe so silent. Usually the Apache settlement echoed with soft voices, steps on stone paths, and the hum of crystal tools. Now there was nothing but distant mechanical noise and the sound of rocks shifting. Lena moved quietly beside the cowboy. She tried to keep her steps steady, but her mind kept returning to the last words she heard from her elder before leaving earlier that day. You see little, Lena. You hear little. You act little. The elder did not mean to be cruel, but the words cut her anyway. The tribe always looked at her as someone who could not do much, someone who needed protection. But right now, she was the one returning to protect them. Even if she had no idea how, the cowboy placed his hand lightly on her shoulder, stopping her as they reached a bend in the canyon. Smoke drifted past them. He crouched down and looked around the corner. Lena's breath froze. She waited in the shadows, her glowing lines dimming so she would not be seen. The cowboy slowly stepped back to her. There are raiders at the entrance, he whispered. Guard bots, too. How many? She whispered, enough to cause trouble, but not too many. She swallowed. We cannot face them directly, I know, he said. That's why we won't. Lena looked at the canyon rocks. She grew up walking these passages. She knew every curve and crack. There are tunnels behind the ridge, she murmured. Small ones. Too small for humans. His eyes met hers. But not too small for you. She felt the weight of that. For the first time in her life, her small size wasn't a weakness. It was the only advantage they had. Her chest tightened. If I go alone, I might fail. The cowboy placed his hand on the rock wall. You won't be alone. I'll follow the path you mark. You go first, I come next. You guide me from the inside. She hesitated. What if I cannot do it? He looked at her with calm confidence. You can. Her breath trembled. She nodded. They moved to a narrow space behind a boulder. Lena knew the entrance to the hidden tunnel was just past a small crystal cluster. She brushed her fingers across the crystals, causing them to glow faintly. A slit in the wall opened so small, only an Apache could enter. The cowboy looked at it, then at her. Go. I'll stay close. Lena squeezed through the opening. Inside, the tunnel was cold and narrow. She had crawled through places like this as a child, searching for small crystals or hiding from older children who teased her. But now, the tunnel felt heavier, filled with purpose. She moved on her hands and knees, pressing glowing markers on the walls, small crystals that the cowboy would see from behind. The tunnel branched many times. She chose each path with care, following the echoes of her tribe's voices deeper in. Behind her, she heard the cowboy moving slowly through the wider path parallel to hers. He pressed his hand against the wall to sense her movement. Even when she went silent, he seemed to know exactly where she was. After almost half an hour, the narrow tunnel opened into a small hiding nook above the main settlement. Through a crack in the rocks, Lena looked down. Her people were gathered near the center of the cave-like village, guarded by raider bots and 3 tall raider soldiers. Lena's stomach tightened. The raiders were broad and heavily armored. Their masks covered their faces, and their boots made hard metallic sounds with every step. Her tribe huddled together, forming a small circle. The elders stood at the front, trying to speak calmly, but Lena could see fear in their eyes. She pressed her hand over her mouth. She wanted to call out to them. She wanted to run down and hug them, but she held her voice back. She knew one sound could get them all in danger. She waited until she sensed the cowboy near the wider crack behind her. She crawled over to him. He looked at her, searching for answers in her eyes. They are alive, she whispered, but guarded. Good, he whispered back. What's the path down? There are 2, she said. One is straight through the main walkway, but the raiders will see us. The second is the lower tunnel under the crystal bed. Only I can fit in it. Then you lead me to the opening, he said. I'll handle the guards. Lena's heart pounded. You will be outnumbered, I've been outnumbered before, he said casually. Lena wanted to argue, but his steady voice calmed her again. She nodded and pointed to the lower tunnel entrance. It was hidden under a loose pile of rocks and crystal roots. She crawled back into the small tunnel, guiding the cowboy to the point where he could drop down unseen. When they reached the final opening, Lena stopped. Beyond this point, the cowboy had to go alone into the open area. She felt fear twisting in her stomach, he noticed. What's wrong? If they catch you, she whispered, my tribe will be blamed. They will think I've brought danger to them. He shook his head. Your tribe already has danger. We're here to end it. Lena looked at him for a long moment. She never knew humans could speak with such calm fire. She touched her fingers to the ground, letting her skin glow brighter. It was an Apache sign of trust. The cowboy understood and gave a small nod. He stepped out of the tunnel, moving like a silent shadow. Lena crawled back through the crack above, watching from above with a pounding heart. The cowboy moved into the dim settlement center. One raider bot turned toward him, its sensors flashing. Before it could sound an alarm, he hit a crystal shard on the wall. A shower of light burst, blinding the bot's sensors. With 2 steps, he reached the bot and disabled it quietly. The second raider bot heard the sound but found no target until it was too late. The cowboy used his tool with quick precision, striking its main sensor. The bot collapsed silently. Lena felt her breath catch. She had seen warriors in her tribe move fast, but not with such focus. The cowboy looked like someone who fought not for pride, but because he wanted peace restored. The 3 raider soldiers finally noticed him. One shouted, the other raised a weapon. Before they could fire, Lena remembered something. She crawled through her tunnel to a narrow branch above the raiders. She knew this path. It led to a shelf where she had once hidden from other Apache children. From that shelf, she could drop a crystal root vine. Her heart raced. Her hands shook, but she acted. She pulled the vine down sharply. It fell from above, striking one raider's visor. He stumbled back in shock. The cowboy used that moment. He rushed forward, grabbing the raider's arm and pulling him down. The raider fell with a loud clang. The cowboy moved to the second raider, striking him with the handle of his tool. The third raider tried to attack from behind, but Lena shouted, "Behind you!" Her voice echoed across the settlement. The cowboy turned instantly and blocked the strike. His hat fell off, his coat swung, and he pushed the raider back. In a final motion, he stunned him with a clean hit. Silence filled the settlement. The Apache tribe stared in shock and disbelief. The elders stepped forward. Lena crawled out of her tunnel and rushed down the side path, running into the open. "Lena," an elder gasped. "You are alive?" She ran to them, tears filling her eyes. "I tried to warn you. I came back." The elders looked at her small figure, then at the cowboy standing behind her. One elder, who once told her she was too small to help, stared with wide eyes. "You helped defeat the raiders?" he asked. Lena wiped her tears. "I guided the human, and I used the tunnels." Another elder stepped forward. "You risked your life." Lena nodded. "Because you are my people." The cowboy watched quietly, not wanting to interrupt what belonged to the Apache. But the tribe turned their attention to him. "You saved us," the chief elder said. "A human did this for us." The cowboy lowered his head politely but said nothing. He never liked attention. Lena stepped closer to him. She spoke with a strong voice she had never used before. "He helped because he believed in me." Elders looked at her with surprise. The youngest children stared at her glowing lines, brighter than ever before. Then the chief elder spoke again. "Lena, you showed courage we did not expect. You used your size as strength, not weakness. You are Apache, and you are a warrior." Lena's breath caught. She had waited her whole life to hear such words. Her glowing lines shined like warm sunlight across her skin. Later, after the tribe secured the settlement and thanked the cowboy with crystal water and resting space, he prepared to leave quietly. Lena found him near the canyon edge. "Cowboy," she said softly. "You are leaving?" He nodded. "Your people need time. I don't want to disturb that." She stepped in front of him. You did not disturb anything. You changed everything. He gave a small smile. I only followed your lead. Her cheeks warmed. I want to go with you. He blinked. Are you sure? Yes, she said with certainty. I want to learn. I want to help others like you helped us. And I want to see the world outside the canyon. He placed his hat back on his head. It's a rough road out there. I am small, she said with a gentle smile, but I can move fast. He chuckled lightly. That you can. Side by side, they walked toward the desert trail. Lena looked back once at her tribe. They watched her with pride, not doubt. The cowboy looked at her glow and understood something without needing words. This tiny Apache woman, once unsure of her own worth, now walked forward with a heart full of courage, and together, they stepped into the long desert night, ready for whatever waited ahead. Milan lived on the edge of a quiet human colony, far away from the busy spaceports and loud markets of the inner towns. People often passed by his home on long journeys, and many stopped only to get their machines repaired. Milan was good with tools, and everyone knew he preferred silence over noise. His house was small, simple, and surrounded by dry fields and red rocks. He did not mind the loneliness. He had lived like this for years. One late evening, as the twin moons rose over the canyon, Milan sat in his workshop fixing a damaged scanner. The air was calm, and the only sound was the soft buzzing of his tools. But suddenly, a loud crash echoed from somewhere far away. He stopped working and listened. At first he thought it might be a falling rock or a broken transport landing nearby. The canyon was old, and strange noises were normal. But then he heard something else, something that made him stand up straight. It was a voice. It was deep, shaky, and filled with fear. It did not sound human at all. Milan walked outside and listened again. The voice came from the canyon, carried by the dry wind. He hesitated. The canyon was not a safe place at night. Large shadow beasts moved there, and people often warned him not to go alone. But fear alone could not stop him from helping someone in danger. He rushed back inside, grabbed his tool bag, a bright lamp, and a small energy shield he used for protection. Then he started walking toward the canyon, following the echoes of the voice. Each step made the sound clearer. It was calling for help, weak, but desperate. The canyon was dark, with sharp rocks and winding paths. Milan moved carefully, shining his lamp on the ground. After some minutes, he reached an open area where something huge lay between broken pieces of metal. Milan froze. His breath caught in his throat. A giant girl was trapped under a fallen mining drone. She was at least twice his height, maybe more. Her skin had a warm bronze color. Her hair was long and braided with silver beads, and her clothes looked like a mix of tribal fabric and light armor. Her large fingers pressed weakly against the ground as she tried to push the heavy metal off her leg. But she was too exhausted. Milan recognized her immediately. She was one of the Apache Zan alien tribe known for their size, strength, and warrior traditions. Many humans feared them because of their massive bodies and powerful voices. But Milan had never seen one up close before, especially not a young one. Her eyes opened slightly when his lamp touched her face. They were bright gold, filled with pain and fear. She whispered something, but her voice was so soft he almost missed it. So he stepped closer. Are you asking for help? He said gently. Her eyes widened. She tried to pull herself up, but the metal crushed her leg again and she gasped. Help. Please, she whispered, her voice trembling. Milan's fear began to fade. He could see she was truly injured, not pretending. He put down his bag and approached slowly, making sure not to frighten her. I'll try, he said. But you have to stay still. To his surprise, she nodded. Her trust came fast, perhaps because she had no strength left to doubt him. Milan studied the broken mining drone. It was heavy, old, and powered by unstable cores. If he lifted it the wrong way, it might explode or roll onto her again. He took a deep breath and started working. First, he stabilized the fallen metal with support rods. Then he unlocked the magnetic clamps that held the lower parts together. As he worked, the giant girl watched him with tired eyes. She was in pain, and every moment made her weaker. Milan pushed harder, faster, determined not to fail her. Finally, after several long minutes, the metal shifted. Milan triggered the lift function of his portable jack, and the drone rose just enough for her to pull her leg free. She collapsed onto the ground, breathing heavily. Milan rushed to her side. "Are you okay?" he asked. She looked at him, surprised. Human caring for her was not common. Her voice was quiet. "My name is Nala." Milan smiled softly. "I'm Milan." Her leg was badly bruised, but not broken. He knew she could not stay in the canyon overnight. It was too dangerous. So he extended his hand toward her, even though she was far larger than him. "Come with me. You can rest at my place." Nala blinked. "Your place?" "Yes, it's safe." For a moment, she did not move. Then, with slow effort, she leaned on her good leg and pushed herself up. She was taller than he had imagined. She had to bend down not to hit the canyon rocks above her. "You help me." "Why?" "Humans usually run from us." "Because you needed help," Milan answered simply. "That's enough reason." Nala stared at him for a long moment. Then she nodded again. They walked back to his home slowly. Her steps were heavy, and the ground shook under her weight. Milan kept checking if she was okay. When they reached his workshop, he opened the wide door. Nala ducked her head low and stepped inside. She barely fit, but she managed to sit near the corner where he kept large machines. Milan cleaned her leg carefully. She flinched once or twice, but she stayed calm. When he wrapped the bandage around her, she murmured, "Your hands are small, but gentle." Milan chuckled. "I'll take that as a compliment." Nala looked around his workshop. Everything felt tiny to hurt: the tables, the chairs, the tools, but she looked comfortable. Even with her huge frame inside a small human building. "You are not afraid of me," she said quietly. "No," Milan answered. "Should I be?" "I do not want to scare anyone," she said, voice soft. "But our size, our voices. Humans think we are dangerous." "Size doesn't decide danger," Milan replied. "Actions do." Nala seemed to think deeply about his words. Outside, the night grew colder, but inside the workshop, the light was warm and calm. After a few minutes, Nala lowered her head, exhausted. "You can rest here," Milan said. "I'll keep watch. You've helped me so much." She whispered, "My tribe. They will know. They will not forget your kindness." "Rest first," Milan said. "We can worry about the rest tomorrow." Nala finally relaxed. Within moments, she fell asleep gently, softly, her large form peaceful and still. Milan watched her with a thoughtful expression. He had helped many travelers before, but never something like this. He wondered what tomorrow would bring. Hours passed. The sky slowly turned lighter. Milan stepped outside to breathe fresh air. But as he looked across the fields, his heart skipped a beat. The ground far away was shaking. Dust rose into the sky. Something large, no, many large things were moving toward his home. He rubbed his eyes, thinking it might be early morning shadows playing tricks on him. But it wasn't. They were figures. Huge, towering figures, tall like Nala maybe, even taller. As they got closer, he saw that there were several of them walking in rows. Wearing shining armor made from meteor steel plates, they carried long staff weapons and moved with slow, powerful steps that made the earth tremble. Milan's breath caught in his throat. The Apache chiefs had come. He turned back toward his workshop. Nala was still asleep, unaware that her tribe was now only moments away. Milan could hear their heavy footsteps growing louder. He did not know if they were coming in peace or anger. He did not know if they would accept the fact that he had helped their young girl. He had no idea what their traditions or rules were, but he knew one thing for certain: his quiet life was over. The giants reached the edge of his property, forming a wall of tall bodies in shining armor. Their shadows stretched long across the ground. One of them stepped forward, bigger and broader than the rest. His voice was deep but calm as he spoke not with anger, but with surprising respect. "Human," the chief said, "we know what you did last night. Milan felt his chest tighten. The chief's voice grew even heavier, and the council has made a decision. Milan did not run. He did not hide. He stood still, facing creatures who could easily tower over him, waiting for the words that would change everything. And behind him, Nala began to wake up.